The chance of a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth. Game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded.
On any day of the week, at any hour of the day, New York City is in motion. A heart beating to a perpetual rhythm. No one, least of all the 8 million people who give the city life, think that it could all change in an instant. But when you least expect it, when all you can think about are catching trains and racing to the office, it can suddenly stop. And when it does, what we hold on to are the little things, those moments that once seemed so ordinary.
My dad drove me to work maybe about a week before September 11th in his fire chief's car, just me and him. My dad was Chief Gerard, or Jerry, Barbara, New York City Fire Department. The best dad a girl could have. And one of the many things he gave me was a love for the Yankees, because he grew up with that. We always sort of incorporated the Yankees in our summer. He pulled over between the World Trade Center and 2 World Financial, where I used to work, then pulled out of his wallet these 4 Yankee tickets for September 10th. And he wanted me to have these tickets, and we kind of went back and forth, you know, Dad, why don't you go? Why don't we go together? And he said, no, that Tuesday morning, which was the 11th, we have a big Chiefs meeting, and I want to get there on time, so I want you to go.
Tonight's game here at Yankee Stadium has been postponed.
Actually, it's September 10th, the game ended up being rained out anyway. And it was the last time I saw him was when he gave me the Yankee tickets.
This just into our newsroom. A plane has crashed into the World Trade Center.
A major terror attack in the United States and here in New York on the World Trade Towers.
The World Trade Center has just collapsed.
It's just a chaotic scene down here like nothing I've ever seen before.
September 11, 2001 was the worst day in the history of the city.
Everyone in the city should remain calm. The very best thing to do right now would be to remain home.
I could see from the very beginning, with the number of casualties and the tremendous damage that was done, and even the thought that we'd probably be attacked again during that period of time, that it's going to be really, really difficult.
Errant plane crashing into the Pentagon, causing a huge fireball.
A large plane has crashed in western Pennsylvania.
The final death toll from this terrible tragedy will not likely be known for weeks.
The world is a very different place from the way we left it about 2.5 hours ago.
I'd ask the people of New York City to do everything that they can to cooperate, not to be frightened, to go about their lives as normal. Everything is safe right now in the city, and the people who are doing the relief effort need all the help they can get.
In the anxious days following September 11th, the nation united behind the strength and heroism of New York's firefighters, police officers, and relief workers.
We'll be here. We'll be here as long as you guys are here.
Ordinary citizens, thrust into extraordinary circumstances.
We need more volunteers here immediately.
Shea Stadium served as a staging area for rescue supplies. And the New York Mets baseball team, overlooking its exalted status, banded together with other volunteers.
We got a box of T-shirts here. People came in from Wall Street who had walked home, and 2 days later, you know, I need to do something. I have to help. What can I do? I had that same feeling that so many other Americans had of just, I needed to do something.
The Yankees, too, pitched in. Following the team's first post-9/11 gathering, manager Joe Torre led a group of players on a goodwill trip downtown.
We went to the Armory, which was the most emotional, and we didn't really know if we should be there. This is where families were all gathered to wait on word if their loved ones were alive. And if they weren't alive, evidence that they weren't alive. So they were doing DNA samplings.
I felt, anyway, completely out of place. You know, I'd kind of walked in, you know, what am I doing here? What do I have to offer these people?
I remember one very poignant moment when Bernie Williams went up to this woman, and he was sort of fumbling, and he says, I don't know what to say. He says, but you look like you need a hug. And he put his arms around her, and I think sort of broke the ice to see that, you know, these people needed this. And I think at that point in time, I realized that there was a role for us.
If any group of New Yorkers needed comfort, it was the city's fire department, which lost 343 firefighters at the World Trade Center. On the morning of September 11th, Brooklyn's Ladder 101, carrying 7 men, was called to the Twin Towers. None of the 7 made it back.
I can't believe it happened. It'll never go away. It's always there the rest of my life. After 9/11, I was visiting one of the widows of one of the guys I lost, firefighter Joe Maffio. I was at her house, and I got a call that the Yankees are at the firehouse. The guys in the firehouse knew what a big, crazy Yankee fan I was. And one of my guys says, Yankees here. I said, no, can't be. The Yankees are in the firehouse? He said, yeah, I got somebody who wants to talk to you. Excuse me, sir, this is Derek Jeter. I said, no, it can't be Derek Jeter. He said, yes, sir, this is Derek Jeter. So he called me sir a few times, and I talked to him a few minutes, and I couldn't even talk to him. I was like tongue-tied. They were there just to cheer us up a little bit. I really wanted to be there, but I knew I was in the right place by visiting one of the widows.
In New York, the sound of bagpipes echoed throughout the city. Each day meant another wake, another funeral, another lost hope.
You can mourn and you can be very, very sorrowful, and at the same time, you can go on with your life. The only 2 things that got my mind off it for any period of time in the fall of 2001 were baseball and my son's football games. One thing that I've been really missing, and I'm going to really break down tonight, I'm going to go to a Met game.
Here in New York City tonight, the first major sporting event since last week's catastrophe is underway. Major League Baseball at Shea Stadium, where the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves put on a stirring show of support for New York and America.
For 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I could feel that I was in a state of normalcy again.
We almost needed to go. I think that when something serious happens in your life, whether it's a death in your family or a traumatic event or a historic event, you cling to things that are familiar and comfortable to you.
A ball game on a Friday night in New York was as ordinary as it gets. But not on this night. It was New York's first mass gathering since the attack 10 days earlier. 9/11 heroes lined the field as 41,000 fans came together in a show of strength and resolve. But still, the evening was met with a measure of unease.
It was nerve-wracking because you couldn't be there without thinking about possibly an attack. I think the first couple of airplanes that went by, people got nervous and looked at them.
People did not know how to react at the ball game. There was all this hidden anxiety of let's continue to mourn and let's continue not to show any emotion other than mourning.
But in the bottom of the 8th, with his team down by a run, Mets catcher Mike Piazza lifted the crowd in a triumphant salute to the city.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza!
And with that crack of the bat, spontaneously people stopped mourning and stood and cheered.
It was an amazing night because everybody's intent changed. It wasn't just a ball game. It wasn't just a song. It became a fight song. It became a call. I wanna wake up, boom, in the city that doesn't sleep. To fight, I'm king of the hill, head of the list, cream of the crop at the top of the heap. Boom.
People came to Shea Stadium to be together. And that sense of unity in a time of crisis is incredibly empowering.
This is what we're all about, not terrorist attacks and horrible things. Let's show people that we can act normally, and maybe it'll help other people start acting that way. We can get through this.
The physical act of going to a ball game, it was a sense of moving forward that nothing else had, because everything else was 9/11. 9/11 was, in essence, the longest day of our lives because it went on for several months. I mean, as long as they were still digging people out of the pit, it was still 9/11.
In the aftermath of September 11th, the mood of the country changed. Baseball games became communal gathering places for fans to express their emotions. And as much of the country turned a sympathetic eye to New York,
the Red Sox ask you to join us in a tribute to the spirit of the people of New York.
the city's baseball teams became the objects of affection.
I could not, under any circumstances, ever imagine cheering for the Yankees. But I think America's sense of New York changed in September 11th and the days afterwards. The face of New York changed. It was 343 New York firefighters who walked into the fires of hell to save strangers. And it becomes very difficult to hate the Yankees.
It was amazing to see the transformation because for the rest of that year anyway, we weren't the hated Yankees. I mean, it was kind of like we were the symbol for these people in New York going through this.
With a newfound mission, the Yankees marched to their 4th division title in a row and prepared to face Oakland in the first round of the playoff series.
The Yankee playoff series gave me something else to focus on instead of dead bodies, you know, bombing Afghanistan, seeing the footage of the Twin Towers falling over and over again. Ooh, another game, you know, something else to watch.
In order to fully defend America, we must defeat the evildoers where they hide.
But even in the seemingly safe haven of Yankee Stadium, news of the war on terror and the recent bombings in Afghanistan was inescapable.
To me, every day, especially during the playoffs, every day at the stadium was just an emotional roller coaster. Before the game and after the game, we're meeting firefighters' families, you know, kids of pilots killed in the crash. And so you're crying 5 minutes before a game starts because you just feel that.
And the A's are going home up 2-0.
The strain on the Yankees showed. They lost the first 2 games in a best-of-5 series at home, and it looked as if their season was over. Then, just as their 1-0